Welcome. In today's practice, we're going to work with a sequence that will help to restore the body and mind. So we'll begin on the floor with some slow, soft somatic movements, and then we'll do just a couple of standing postures, and we'll conclude our practice back on the floor with some restorative yoga setups. So I hope you enjoy the class. For today's practice, you'll need just a couple of props. We're going to begin practice on the floor on a soft surface. So I recommend placing a folded blanket right out over your sticky mat, or you could even go to a carpeted floor. We'll also need some sort of cushion or yoga bolster if you have one, a folded blanket, and a strap of some sort. So if you don't have a yoga strap, you can use whatever you have around the house. And then finally, I will demonstrate one posture on a chair, but you are also welcome to use other kinds of furniture. So we'll just explore that when we get to that pose. Let's begin by coming right down onto the floor and make sure again you are on that soft surface. Extending your legs and releasing your arms. And avoid too much adjusting. Instead, simply allow your body to settle and drop. And sink your attention into the tissues of the body and simply observe how you are now. You might notice energy levels. You might notice any sensations present. And then from here, slide your feet up and we'll plant the feet to the floor a little bit wider than the hips. Bring your hands to your lower abdomen just below the navel. And then from here, let's tip the hips forwards. You draw the lower back in towards the body. And then you scoop and round the tailbone under, lengthening the lower back. Try that a few times. So tipping hips forward and back in your own pace. And as you move, you could move with your breath. So as you tip the hips forward, you inhale, arching the lower back. And on the exhale, you lengthen the lower back as you scoop the tailbone under. The hips and feet stay on the floor. And it's just a rocking forward and back. Good, really nice. And then slowly, slowly coming back through center, pausing there. Let's interlace the fingers and place the hands behind the head, elbows down. On the next breath, poke one elbow back and one elbow down towards the hip for a side bend. And then we return back through center. And try the other side. So you slide one elbow back, one elbow down, side bending. And then returning through center. And simply go at your own pace. Rather than picking the head up or picking the arms up, can you just slide and glide? Might mean you don't go quite as far. And as you take the side bend, observe the shortening on one side, lengthening on the other side. Slow, soft breath, slow, soft movement. Good, and then come coming back through center, pausing there. And from here now, we'll slide the legs out, releasing legs to floor. For the next movement, go ahead and flex one foot. So you pull the toes back towards the shin and press out through your heel. It's as if you're sort of lengthening the leg. And then you soften, release, and relax. And try other side. Flexing the foot, you pull toes back, press out through the heel. It's like you're lengthening that whole leg all the way from the Achilles tendon up through the back of the knee and the hamstrings. And then slowly release. And go side to side in your own pace, a couple times. And as you press out through the heel, heel stays down, stays connected to the blanket or the floor. And feel how this translates up into the shift of the ilia. So your hip might slide down as well. Basically, this movement mimics our gait, the movement that happens while we walk. Good, and then returning back to neutral. And this time we'll combine the movements. So now as you flex the foot, pull toes back, you press out through the heel, lengthening the leg. We're going to poke same side elbow back. So elbow and heel moving away from one another. And then on the return, everything relaxes and releases back through center. Try other side, poke elbow and heel away from one another. And on the release, everything returns to the neutral. Go with your own breath, your own pace. As you side bend, you might bring the breath down into the side ribs, side waist. Just touch the breath into the spaces between the ribs, the intercostal spaces. Feel the expansion of the breath on the inhale, and on the exhale, everything returns back to center. Good, really nice. And then after that last one, go ahead and come back through center. And from here now, let's bring our arms out to T, palms facing up. And we'll bend one leg, plant the foot to the floor. From here, keep the foot on the floor and you just rock onto the inner edge of the foot. You drop the knee across the body on an angle. Arch the lower back as you hike the hip up off the floor. It's kind of like a twist movement. And then on the return, everything comes back down, hip settles, sacrum spreads. We'll just do the one side. So same side, you drop the knee across the body on an angle. Really pull the thigh bone away from the belly as you take the movement. And on the release, the hip drops and settles. Good. Try doing the movement on the inhale. So you drop the knee across on the inhale, arch the lower back. Really pin that opposite side shoulder down. It might want to lift. And on the exhale, everything returns, drops, and settles. And after that last one, you can come back through center and slide leg out. We'll try other side. So then you bend opposite leg, plant the foot, and we drop the knee across the body on an angle. Arch the lower back, lift the hip, pin that opposite side shoulder down, And on the return, everything drops and settles to the floor. And go at your own pace, find your own rhythm. And with this floor work, it is best to simply listen to my words and follow along rather than lifting the head. It will be more restorative for your whole system, especially your nervous system. And try same side a few times. Good. Really nice. And after that last one, coming back through center, and we'll slide legs out. Let's go back to first side, bending the leg, planting the foot. This time interlacing the fingers, placing the hands behind the head. We'll combine the movements now. So as you drop the knee across the body on an angle, once again into the twist, you lift the hip, arch the lower back. And then we'll take a side bend, so you press out through the straight leg, press out through that heel as you poke same side elbow back. And then on the return, everything comes back through center, sliding, dropping, settling. Try that a few times on the one side. You drop the knee on an angle, press out through straight leg as you poke same side elbow back. And returning. Don't be in a rush. Really allow the dropping and the settling before you take the next movement. So this floor work is incredibly healing, really helping us to reset the nervous system. These movements help to unwind patterns of strain, patterns of fatigue or pain. Okay, good. And then after that last one, you come back through center and slide leg out. Let's try other side. Planting the foot, and then when you're ready, drop the knee across the body. You press out through straight leg side, poke elbow back for the side bend. And on the return, everything comes back through center. And take your time like that. Moving with your breath. It might feel good for you to pause at some part of the movement. You could just pause and take an extra breath. Let these movements move you. So find your own rhythm inside. Really nice. Beautiful. And then we come back through center and pause, slide legs out. Just release the arms now at your sides and pause. Take a moment to really sense and feel. You might notice little flushes of blood, nerve, pulsation inside. Okay, and then let's reach one hand up towards the head. Roll now all the way over onto your side, resting your head down on your lower arm. Stack your legs and stack your feet. You can use your upper arm in front of you to balance for a moment. And then from here, let's bend the top leg and just plant the foot out behind us. Okay, so keep that foot planted to the floor and we'll reach upper arm overhead. You grab a hold of upper arm with lower hand and give that arm a little bit of a tug. So find some length through your side body, side waist. Pause there, and then this one's a pretty small movement. You're just going to roll slightly forward. So you roll slightly forward, the torso rolls forward, feet stay where they are. And then you roll slightly back. Try that a few times. Keep the feet where they are, and you just slightly roll the torso, upper body forward. This might mean your head rolls a little towards the floor. And then you come back through midline. It's a helpful one to unwind any adhesions in the ribs or sort of dysfunction in the rib basket. Beautiful, really good. And then after that last one, you can roll onto your back and we'll try other side. Try to stay down and just roll all the way over onto the other side. Once again, stacking the feet, stacking the hips, resting your head down on the lower arm. We'll bend the top leg and plant the foot out behind us. And then you reach the upper arm overhead. Grab upper arm with lower hand and give it a good tug. Find some extra length now through your side body, side waist. When you're ready, we roll slightly forward. So torso, upper body rolls towards the floor a couple times. Good. It's a subtle movement for sure, but you might notice some sensation, some length along side body, side ribs. Good. Beautiful, and then we release. And we'll roll all the way onto our back. This time as you go, find your bolster and your strap. So we're going to take our bolster and place it right beside our hip, right to the outside of the hip. And strap, let's make a small loop with the strap. And place your foot through the loop, like so. Okay, so then you take your hand and place the palm of the hand through the loop, palm facing down. Notice how I'm not bending my arm. Arm is extended, so I'm not really working my bicep that much. Press out now through the top leg. You can extend the bottom leg as well, so now press out through both heels. Pause there, find that length out of the back line of the body, all the way from the heel, up through the back of the knee, perhaps into the hamstring. Drive the thigh bone of the upper leg away from your belly. Enjoy some slow, soft breath. And then when you're ready, we'll open the upper leg off to the side And we're looking to place the support of the bolster right up against the outer hip. So make sure you have some support that will make the posture more restorative. Press out through both legs. So keep that bottom leg active. It might want to lift, really drop the hip down towards the floor. You could bring your opposite arm out to T beside you. Now press out through the inner heel. You might notice some length along the inner groin, inner thigh, adductor area. Turn your belly away from the upper leg. You might just touch your breath down into the deep corners of the lower abdomen. And keep pressing out through inner heel. Beautiful, and then return the leg back up through center. Let's try other sides. You can pop the bolster over. If you don't have a bolster, you could just use a folded blanket or a block. And we'll place the loop onto the opposite foot. Extend the foot up towards the sky. Release the bottom leg towards the floor. Now press out through both heels. So keep that lower leg active. Drive the thigh bone of the upper leg away from your belly. You could bring your arm out to T and enjoy a few slow, soft breaths down into the belly. Good, and then when you're ready, you can bring the upper leg off to the side, support the outer hip or the outer thigh with the prop. And as you go, press out through the inner heel. Keep that bottom leg active, so really drop the hip of the bottom leg. Turn your lower belly away from your upper leg. You might notice some activation of the inner groin, inner thigh. This is where the kidney and the liver meridian run. These channels are very closely related to our deeper energies. They help to transport qi and blood up into the lower abdomen, the pelvic bowl. So keep pressing out through the inner heel. And you might just touch your breath down into the lower belly. Good, and then let's draw the leg back up through center and pop that strap off. Bring your props off to the side. And from here now, reach one arm up towards the head and we'll roll all the way over onto our belly. Stack the palms of your hands and rest your head down on your hands. Pause there. And then from here, let's bend one leg off to the side. So you draw the knee off to the side like a tree pose shape.
Tuck the toes of the straight leg under and press out through your heel. Okay, from here, draw your torso over towards bent leg side. Keep the toes tucked of the straight leg. Lift your kneecap up off the floor, so engage your quad. And then on the inhale, we'll lift the head and chest any amount. So it's a small back bend here. And as you lift up off the floor, take your breath down into the lower abdomen, especially on the side that you're turning away from. Good, and then slowly release the head, untuck toes, and slide the legs back out, coming back to center. And from here, take the opposite leg off to the side. So you bend the leg, draw the knee off to the side like the tree pose shape. And we'll tuck the toes of the straight leg under. Walk those toes in. Now lift the kneecap. We'll draw the torso over towards bent leg side. When you're ready, you can lift the head and chest any amount. So the hands and the arms stay down onto the floor. And as you lift the chest and head, bring your breath down into the lower belly. A couple breaths like that. Beautiful, and then we slide the leg back out, come back through center. Beautiful, let's go back to first side. So you take the knee off to the side for the kind of like the tree pose shape. And tuck the toes of the straight leg, walk those toes in. Lift your kneecaps, so engage your quad. And we draw the torso over towards the bent leg side. Inhale to lift the head and chest up. This time you might walk your elbows or your forearms a little closer to your body, if that's okay for your spine and your back. And also find the back bend that's appropriate for you. And you press those forearms down into the floor. Lift and lengthen upwards. So of course, this is an asymmetrical posture. You might observe the lower spine, how there is more compression on one side. And then once again, you might bring your attention to the lower quadrant of your belly. And imagine that you're bringing the breath to that area. Good, and then we slowly lower. Slide the leg back out and come back through center. Let's try other side. So you bend the knee off to the side of the mat. Tuck the toes of the straight leg, engage the leg. We draw the torso over towards bent leg side. When you're ready, you lift the head and chest up off the mat. You might walk your elbows and your forearms a little closer towards the body. Take the back bend that's appropriate for you. Now keep the straight leg engaged. So you press out through the heel a bit. Lift that knee. And you might observe the differences from the left and right side of the spine. One side might be more compressed. And you might bring now, once again, this breath. Imagine that you're bringing the breath down into the lower quadrant of the belly. Good, and then we slowly release, come back through center, pause in the center, and this time we'll tuck all 10 toes under. So you walk all 10 toes under, lift your knees up off the floor, and pin your outer hips down. We'll inhale, lift just the head and chest. So hands and arms stay down. Lift the head and chest any amount for a back bend right through the center line this time. You might walk your elbows closer towards the body, clasping the opposite elbow. Keep pinning your pubic bone down as you lengthen your front spine up. If this is too deep, you can always bring your elbows further out in front of you for a lower back bend. Good, and then we slowly lower, releasing the head. And pause there, untuck toes, take a breath into the lower back. And then let's try that again. So you tuck all 10 toes under, walk the toes in towards the body, press the pubic bone down, and inhale, we lift the head and chest. You might walk the elbows or the forearms in. So you press the elbows slightly downwards to broaden the chest, lift and lengthen spine up. Good, and then we untuck toes, you slide the head back down towards the mat, pause there. And once again, feel the inhale as a broadening or spreading at the lower spine. And then let's press into our hands and we'll come into a child's pose. Bringing the feet together and the knees apart for wide-kneed child's pose. You can bring your head all the way down towards the floor. If it doesn't reach the floor, then please do use a prop under your head. Could place a folded blanket or a block there. And from here, walk your hands over towards one side. So we'll take a bit of a side bend twist movement. You can place one hand right beside your body and press that hand towards the floor to lift and turn the belly. Reach your opposite arm out in front of you. Get some length now through that side body once again. So drop your hips and reach out through the straight arm. And you might notice any space in the intercostal spaces between the ribs. And keep reaching and turning the belly. Good, and then let's walk the hands back through center and coming on to other side. Once again, the hand that's closest to your body, press that hand to the floor, turn the belly. As you reach your straight arm out in front of you for the side bend. If the head doesn't reach the floor, do use a prop here underneath you. And feel that length alongside waist, side ribs as you sink your sitting bones down. Good, deep breaths. Keep reaching out through the straight arm side. And then we slowly come back through center. Releasing the hands back through the midline. And we walk the hands up towards the knees, coming into a seated position. From here, we're going to fold our blanket and place our blanket off to the side of the mat, coming into now a posture right on our sticky mat. Okay, so for this first setup, we're going to set ourselves up in a supported dog pose. And so you could use a bolster or a block. I'll show today with the bolster, but it depends a little bit on the length of your arms and the length of your legs. So from here, I'm going to support my head this way by placing the bolster lengthwise, and then I'm going to take my dog pose by supporting just beyond my hairline, like so. Okay, so I take my regular dog pose, spreading the palms. Let's bring the feet a little bit wider than the hips, and then I tip my head down so that it's resting right on the prop like so. So it's just like a slight pressure on the top of the head or near the hairline. Some of you might need more support, so then you start to build it up a little bit until you find height that works for you. So for me, it's the bolster, like so. Now the key is that I'm not bending my arms trying to get my head down. Rather, I just dip my head down into my regular dog pose, and there's just a slight pressure there on the hairline. I'll meet you there. And as you settle in now, you could bend your legs and then re-extend. Press the thigh bones back. And as the legs and the arms stay really active, keep your cranium soft. So soften the eyes, soften the jaw, the tongue. This posture is really restorative for the brain once you get it set up. Enjoy a few slow, soft strokes of breath. Good, and then we bend the legs, bring the knees down towards the floor. We'll just pop the bolster off to the side for now. And then from here, coming right up to standing, I'm gonna step 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. And today I recommend using a block on the inside of your front foot. You could also use whatever furniture you have around the house. That would work fine as well. So you could place a chair there, for example. Okay, so 1 foot pointing forward, 1 foot back. See how the back toes are pointing slightly inwards. And then I bend that front leg, drop the sitting bone down towards the floor. Press into the outer edge of the back heel. And let's reach the front arm up. Reach and lengthen upwards. And then we release and lean forward, placing the hand either to the block or the prop that you're using. Turn your belly open, turn your chest. If you'd like, you can take your upper arm overhead. Now press into the outer edge of that back heel and reach out through your fingers. Keep turning your belly open, turn your chest open. Beautiful. Inhale to come all the way up. Let's heel toe the feet in and take the opposite stance, placing the block to the inside of the front foot. Okay, so it's a pretty long stance. Press into the outer edge of that back heel as you bend the front leg. The power of this pose is definitely in the feet and the legs. Drop the sitting bone down towards the floor. And then when you're ready, we'll reach the front arm up. And exhale, over we go. Place the hand to the block. As you arrive, turn your belly open, turn your chest. Beautiful. You could take upper arm overhead. Pressing now that outer edge of the heel down towards the floor and reach out through your fingers.
Turn your belly open, turn your chest open. Good, and inhale to come all the way back up to standing and stepping feet together. From here, we're going to take one posture on a chair. I just really find this one so restorative for the body. Today, I'm gonna flip the chair over. So depending on what kind of props you have, you might use, you could do something like this, like on a couch. Just depends on what you have around the house. If you have a yoga chair, you can follow along with me. See how I'm placing the folded blanket over the chair this way. And then from here, I'm going to simply lean forward so that the bar of the chair is right at the top of my legs, near my hips. So from here, I lean forward and I get the hook of the bar there on my hip. And what we're looking to do is create a little bit of traction. So now as I lean forward, I can take my feet a little bit wider. So feet are still contacting the floor, and then I lean forward. And for me, the length of my torso allows me to just gently rest the head to the floor. Okay, so I want to get that traction. You can press out through your heels and release your head. And take a few slow, soft breaths as you rest here. And if you'd like, you could take a little side bend as per our theme today. Maybe reaching one arm forward as we did in the child's pose. And again, it should feel like a subtle traction at the lower back, especially. And essentially, this is like a supported inversion. So again, if you don't have this kind of chair at home, you could experiment with any other furniture that you have. Essentially, you're just looking for that draping and traction action. And then going to the other side, you reach arm a little bit longer, draping yourself towards the floor. Good, and then we come back through center, and when you're ready, you can press your way up, returning to standing, and we'll bring the props now off to the side of the mat. And returning now to the floor, we're going to come now into a supported setup with a few props. So I'll show today with a blanket and a bolster. If you have two bolsters, you could do this with two bolsters, or you could also do it with two blankets. So I've got one folded blanket underneath this way. The second prop, I'm using the bolster, and I'm just gonna make it like a T shape on top. See that? And then from here, I sit right on top of the bolster like so. As I come back, the bolster is essentially the full length of my spine. I lean back and I bring my head just so that it's tipping off the bolster and onto the floor. So my neck is free and there's a nice arching in the neck spine. From here, you could stay here. If you have the range, you'll extend your legs about a little wider than the hips. Press out through your heels. So it's a little back bend movement. Reach your arms up towards the sky. And then we'll bend the arms and clasp the opposite elbow. poke elbows back. So now elbows and heels moving away from one another. Find the length through front body. You can play around with the height of the props underneath you. So if this is feeling like too much, you could take less height in the bottom prop. You can always also just bend the legs and place the feet to the floor here. Okay, so find what works for you. Wherever you've landed, and bring your awareness to the front body. And if you're in the full expression as I am, you might poke now one elbow and one heel a little further away from one another. Go side to side. And then do all four. Press out through heels, press out through elbows. Beautiful. And then let's release. You bend the legs, plant the feet towards the floor, and we roll to one side, coming up to seated. For our next posture, we're just going to take now the bolster to the mat, and we place the folded blanket on top of the bolster like so. Okay, I'm sitting in front of the bolster, and I'm going to use my strap to create a little bit of a sling. So if you have a strap, you'll take the strap, bringing the feet together, knees apart like so, and you'll take the strap over the knees this way so that the strap is over the shins and the thighs. If you don't have a strap, you're going to support underneath the knees with blocks. Okay, so from here with the strap, see how I'm sitting on the floor? I'm going to cinch it so that it creates support. And then I lean back onto the bolster like so. Head onto the blanket and ensure that the strap is creating a kind of hammock so that your legs and knees are not just dropping. If you don't have the strap, then you'll go here and use the block or a folded blanket underneath the knees. Best to have support today as we're trying to make our practice more restorative for the body and mind. Once you have arrived, check in with your lower back. If this is too much compression for you, you might try lifting the hips and sliding your upper buttock muscles away from your lower back and then settling the hips back down. You could also place more support underneath the hips if needed. Eventually releasing your arms to your sides, closing or softening your gaze, closing eyes. In this setup, we're not looking for so much stretch. Rather, we're putting the body in a particular shape and then allowing the body's inherent healing wisdom to take over. So you can simply rest, letting go. And if some part of the posture is feeling a little achy or not quite right, just adjust until you feel like the posture is very supportive. Let your head be heavy. Soften the muscles of the jaw. You might swallow and relax the throat. Good. A couple more breaths like that. Bring your hands to the outsides of your legs and draw your knees together. And we'll unloop strap, roll to one side, and then press your way up to a seated position. From here now, we'll shift and place the bolster underneath the hips. If you don't have a bolster, you can use a folded blanket instead. And then once again, lying back, this time hug your knees into your chest. And we'll place the loop of the strap onto both feet, like so. You can make the loop bigger or just undo the loop entirely. Press the feet up towards the sky. And what we're aiming for here is not so much a stretch at the back of the legs, so we're not trying to pull the feet towards the head. Instead, see if you can just balance the heels above the hips. The hips are right up on the bolster. The bolster is not underneath the lower back. It's a little lower than that. It's more like under your sacrum or your tailbone. There's a slight posterior tilt of the pelvis. Keep the legs active, pressing out through heels. Press thigh bones away from the belly. Once again, it's a more restorative setup, allowing the feet to simply hang. You might close your eyes or soften your gaze and turn your attention inside. Yeah, good. And then placing strap off to the side, hug knees in, and we'll cross one shin over the other. You grab a hold of the outsides of the feet, soles of the feet. Pull the feet slightly in towards your body and up towards your face. It's kind of like a cross-legged position. We call it Sukhasana. See how the arms are on the outsides of the legs. Pull your toes back a little, so keep the feet slightly flexed or active. Press out through your heels. Pause there. And then let's switch over other side, crossing opposite shin over. You grab a hold of the soles of the feet. So notice that my arms are on the outsides of the legs. Keep your feet a little active by pulling your toes back, pressing out through heels. And you could draw your feet a little closer towards the face and then down towards the body until you find a place that feels good for you. Good, and then releasing, hug knees in. And from here now, you could slide your bolster a little bit lower so that it's resting underneath your knees or your hamstrings. And we'll move now into our final resting posture of Shavasana. I recommend placing a blanket or something warm over your body. Ensure that you're comfortable and at ease. Releasing your legs, releasing your arms to your sides. And dropping into a time of rest. Letting go, completely letting go. Invite the weight of your bones to sink towards the earth. And stretching arms and legs. And rolling over onto one side. You can come to sit up into a seated position. And bringing the palms of the hands together, bowing slightly downwards. And honoring our practice, honoring these teachings, honoring one another. And may the benefits of this practice radiate outward to the benefit of all beings. And thank you for your practice.